Okay, so we're covering new territory in this episode of Love Your Channel because for the very first time, we're talking to someone who uses YouTube to share their travels and adventures. In this case, it's all over North and Central America, coast to coast in Canada, all over America, every corner of Mexico, all the coolest places in Belize and Guatemala and Honduras and Costa Rica and El Salvador and Nicaragua. I'm just jealous just talking about it here. The channel name, one of the very best names on YouTube for sure, is WanderBeard, not Wonder, Wander, like wander the earth, right? And the man behind the channel and the man behind the beard is joining me now from somewhere in Guatemala, I think, to talk about traveling, YouTube, and more. His name is Ian. He's known as WanderBeard around these parts, as he likes to say. Ian, welcome to Love Your Channel.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Okay, everybody gets the same question at the beginning. Let's say you meet somebody who learns that you have a YouTube channel. They ask you what it's all about. How do you answer?
The short answer is I'm a recovering IT professional who basically handed in his bag one day and decided to go and travel. And my videos are basically just very bare bones, very authentic day-to-day travel experiences that I have. I don't try and sugarcoat anything when I'm traveling, and I try and keep it pretty light, but also factual. Like I try and do a lot of history with my videos because that's what I've always been interested in. I don't try and be, super flashy or controversial or any of that kind of stuff, which I know a lot of people seem to love. But for me, it's more about doing this for myself. And so that's just kind of the way that I position the channel. I'm just doing these videos for myself in a way that I enjoy doing them, so that I don't ever feel like I hate doing this and then I don't want to do it anymore.
So you're originally from Canada, Nova Scotia, I think.
That's
So
correct. Yeah.
before you were WanderBeard, were you stationary beard, just living a conventional life, or what?
I was, yeah. So previous to this, I was actually living in the city of Halifax, Nova Scotia. I was there for about 15 years in total. I had been working for a few different IT jobs while I was there. I had sort of moved up, through the ranks up to the position. I was actually an IT manager when I kind of walked away from it all. Prior to that, I had spent some time, traveling and working sort of in hand, I guess. I worked a couple of years in Boston. I worked for BlackBerry when that was still a thing, and went to Texas for them for 6 months. Going back farther, I've done things like I taught English in Japan for a year. I worked with Care International, which is a worldwide NGO, and went down to Peru with them for 5 or 6 months, helping with their IT stuff. So travel for me has always sort of been part of my experience. And then, eventually I kind of get into that, like you said, you get into that kind of stationary position, and suddenly the years pass, and all of a sudden one day you kind of wake up and you're like, wow, it's been 10, 15, 20 years and I haven't really done anything. So it kind of was just at that moment that I was like, I think I'm going to go try something different for a while.
Yeah, stationary beard is not as cool a name as WanderBeard is. That definitely,
It's not
definitely
as
not.
catchy, right? It doesn't sound
No, not at
doesn't
all,
sound as
not at
good.
all.
No.
So I'm curious. You spent all these years in IT, and
Yep.
I'm curious to know, before you hit the road that you're on today, I'm curious to know, was there a single moment or like a one bad day at work that made you say, okay, that's it, I'm going? Or was it a slow burn, or what led up to that point?
It was, yes, the easy answer, a bit of both. I think that, IT has certainly changed as a profession since I started 25 years ago. At that time you could always kind of be the guy who sort of knew a little bit of everything. And you could kind of, handle a lot of different factors. But obviously with technology and stuff that's grown so much over the years, you almost have to kind of shoehorn yourself into a kind of specialty. Which is difficult when you come from a background where you know a little bit of everything. It's hard to kind of segment yourself off. And so for me, what ended up happening over time was I continued to try and push that all-in-one narrative for myself. I could still do all these different things. And what ends up happening, of course, is you just end up taking on too much. it kind of ends up burning you out. You start working lots of extra hours. Um, and before you realize it, suddenly you're putting in 60, 70 hours a week and getting paid on salary, getting paid for 40 hours a week, so you're losing all this extra time. And then the stress just builds up, and it just becomes a point where just one day I was just like, I just can't do this level of stress anymore. I was almost 50. I'm 51 now, which makes me sound super old, I know, to most people who watch these videos, but nonetheless, um, I think that I just got to a point where I was like, I don't want this anymore. I've done this now for half my life, and I want to go do something else that is far less stressful, something that I can, not have to feel like every day is taxing on my anxiety and my just physical health, even as well, takes a toll when you're doing that sort of thing full time. So in the end, it was just kind of a slow burn up to a point, and it was just a stop where I was like, I can't, I'm done. Not to get too into the weeds, but I actually, called in one day for work and said, I can't come in. I was on Christmas vacation, and I said, I can't come back after Christmas vacation. And I never did. So,
It sounds like a classic case of gradually and then all at once. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And it's pretty common. Like I've seen a lot of comments on some of my videos from people who are in either similar situations. They haven't quite got to that breaking point yet, or they have gone past that breaking point and they sort of had the same experience where they just totally, I don't want to say crashed out, but that's kind of an easy way to describe it. You just stop. Like you just, one day the brakes seize up and that's it. So,
Okay, Ian, I have lots of questions for you here. We have a lot to talk about.
sure. Great.
And so for these next few questions, we're going to go rapid fire. Okay. So I
Sounds
need
good.
short or kind of short answers so we can cover a lot
Okay.
of ground quickly here. Okay. So, Ian, are you ready for rapid fire?
I am ready.
Okay. Here we go.
How,
How long has it been? How long has it been since you were last clean shaven?
at least 10 years. And that was an
Given
accident.
10, sorry, what was an accident?
The 10 years ago clean shaven, and that was an accident. I was trimming it. The trimming went wrong. I ended up having to clean the whole thing up. So
That sounds like a serious shaving accident when you accidentally. Okay, all right.
is
Well, I'll just.
clippers,
I'm
and then
gonna
the
leave
clipper
that
guard
there.
fell off. And,
Uh,
yeah,
okay, this sounds like the makings of a video of its own. Ian, one day, keep that in mind if you're struggling for content
probably.
ideas one of these days. The beard story. Okay, given the name, given the name of your channel, aren't you kind of obligated to keep the beard now?
Yeah, and I'm totally okay with that. I've had it for a long time, and it's comforting, and actually makes it look like I have a chin. So that really helps.
before before you started your travels, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good was your Spanish?
About a 2, maybe. It's still not great now, but it's certainly better than the 2. So
Okay, well now after spending I don't know how much time in Latin America, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good is your Spanish?
it's probably a 5 or a 6. I've been really poor at trying to improve a lot of aspects of it, but I know enough now to at least have conversations, ask for directions, get myself in trouble, those types of things. So it's enough to get by now, which is good.
So you talk a lot about money on your channel because people often ask about budgeting and how you make this work financially.
Yeah.
Sometimes you spend, $15 a night on hotels and things like that. I'm curious, are there one or two luxuries from your old life that you miss even today?
I miss my old sofa the most because I ended up spending a lot of time on it, the last couple of years. Obviously, with going back a few years, I was during COVID, we were all working from home full time. So, you kind of get into that comfort zone where you've got your sofa and your big screen TV and, all the kind of creature comforts or whatever. Um, but to be honest, I wouldn't take them back if I had to give this up. Best way to put it.
Well, on the other side of things, give us an example or two of something from your old life that you're glad that you don't have to deal with today.
Bills? Is that a safe answer? Is that an easy answer? I don't miss having to kind of have that regular life where, oh yeah, the power bill's due, and oh yeah, this is due, and the internet bill's due, and just kind of that traffic, dealing with traffic going, but even not even going to work, just driving around the city. Like I don't have a car here. I take mostly public transportation everywhere I go. So I'm never the one doing any of the driving anymore, which is really nice. So even if the traffic now is bad, it, it's not my responsibility, so I don't really care too much. So probably traffic is probably the biggest one, and yeah, it's just it's a lot to deal with. Like it gets stressful. So like I worked again. And I know you wanted short answers, but you're going to work, and my work was a mile away or a mile and a half away, and it takes me 90 minutes to get there sometimes. So it just becomes too much.
If you could travel back in time, let's say 5 years, and visit your old self in that IT office, what would you say to your old self to convince him that he should leave and start his travels earlier?
To be honest, it wouldn't take much. I don't think. I was on that fence for several years leading up to this. I think really, if I had to say anything to myself, is what are you waiting for? I've told people in in conversations in person both, and in replies of video comments. People ask me about that sort of thing. And listen, you can have all the cars, you can have all the houses, the toys, the whatever, but you can't buy more time. And as time passes, you really regret not using it for something better earlier on. And so that to me is the one message that really, and that it affects me when I think about that too, because I'm like, I wasted all these years working for somebody else, making them lots of money, being stressed out about it, being the only one that cared about it half the time. And really, I just ended up burning all these years that I could have used for something else.
Ian, you have successfully completed rapid fire. Well done. Congratulations. Good job. Good job. Good job. Before we continue, a quick reminder to everybody that Love Your Channel is available as a podcast as well. So if you're more of the listening type, you can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Links in the description below, of course. And if you're listening to us now on one of those podcasts, don't forget we have a YouTube channel. So you'll come over here if you're more of the watching type. And if you're more of the reading type, and I know you're out there somewhere, remember we have a Substack. It's like a blog. You'll find a text version of all the interviews that we do, including my chat with Ian here. And you can also find great tips and advice that you can use to start or grow your own YouTube channel. So be sure to check that out. Again, all links in the description below. Of course, you'll also find a link to Ian's channel. Okay, Ian. So one of the things I really like about your channel is the relaxed style. Like you said earlier, you don't have this flashy kind of overproduced style of many travel channels. You kind of make it clear that you're not seeking out danger, clickbaity stuff. When I watch your videos, I'll tell you how I feel. When I watch your videos, I feel like I'm your friend back in Canada, and I was going to go with you on this trip, but I had to cancel for some reason, and you're sending these videos back to me to show me what I missed. That's what it feels like. And so this is a very roundabout way of asking, is this style deliberate or just the way it worked out or what?
It's a combination. So again, where I spent so many years in such a stressful work environment, and I fully admit a lot of that stress I put on myself. I always wanted to perform well. I wanted to make a good impression. I wanted to do a good job, and so that sort of ends up, becoming a stress ball in and of itself. So one of the things with this was I wanted to take it in the opposite direction. I wanted to be calming. I wanted to just relax and enjoy what I'm seeing. If I run into situations that are a little crazier, then great, that's fine. But for me, it was just I wanted to do this as a way to see the world, enjoy it, do it in a way that I would want to do it, to be honest to myself. And also, you mentioned like this whole idea of feeling like you're with me on the trip, or you're seeing these videos of someone who would have been on the trip with me, and that's part of it because one of the big reasons I'm doing this is for my parents back home. They watch all my videos. I talk to my parents every day, and I really wanted to showcase a lot of these places to them too, because they're certainly at a point now where they're not traveling anymore. So I figure this is a good opportunity for me to show them some of the places that maybe they would love to see but can't anymore. So it's kind of that 2-in-1 situation for me.
You mentioned a relaxing approach, kind of a relaxing take on travel, and it's funny when you said that. I thought of a video that I think I watched yesterday. One of your videos is 20 something minutes, no words. It's just you walking through jungles or jungle type
Yep.
landscapes. and it is
Yeah,
super relaxing.
yeah.
Although I could feel the mosquitoes on my arms when I was watching this video. Strangely enough, I mean I was there. So yeah, definitely relaxing. Apart from the travel, though, obviously, there's a theme running through a lot of your content about the second act in life, right? What comes next? What comes next? And the like you just mentioned a moment ago, the need to get out there and see the world while you have time to wander, basically. Um,
Mhm.
that's not a there's no question there, more of an observation, really. So just pretend there was a question there and run with it, okay?
Yeah, I think that I think that a lot of people get stuck in doom scrolling and reading the news all the time, and they sort of get blinders on a little bit about how the world is or how they think it is. And one of the things I'm trying to do is also showcase that people everywhere are generally good people. People are just trying to live their lives like the rest of us, and try and get by day to day. And I think what ends up happening is that, through those adventures and through those experiences that I have, I'm trying to, yeah, basically say to people, like things that you read on the news about a place necessarily isn't how the whole place is, you know. Um, and so I think that that's really important. Like people talk about Mexico, and their inclination is either one or two things: either go to Cancun and sit on a beach for a week and do nothing, or it's too dangerous because of cartels and whatever, whatever. I spent almost 5 months in Mexico in total. Stopped in 25 or 26 different cities, from Tijuana in the north at the border. I walked across the border to Tijuana, and then I finished up walking across the border from Bacalar into Belize about 4 months later. And I've been back a couple of times since then. And Mexico's amazing. The people there are so friendly. Everywhere you go, people are just normal people living their lives, trying to make it by, pay their bills, live their life. And I took public transport everywhere I went, by bus. Took the train once in Mexico. I took the ferry once in Mexico. But for me, it's just, yeah, like I just kind of wander around these places. I meet people. I go to these local restaurants. Always try and stay at local places that are owned by local families and that type of thing. And it's a great way, I think, to showcase that other side to people who think that the whole world is falling apart. And we can have debates about some of that stuff maybe too sometime. But I think that in the end of the day, the day-to-day life is the same everywhere, and it's just really interesting to kind of try and show that to people as much as I can.
Before we continue, let me say a quick word about Riverside, the platform I use to arrange interviews, edit everything, and more. Riverside is an all-in-one platform that lets you record, edit, live stream, host webinars, and basically do everything you need as a creator. It offers tons of advanced features, but in my experience, the best part has been how easy it is to get started and produce videos. If you want to get hands-on and be in charge of every detail, Riverside gives you the tools you need to do it. If you want to put everything on autopilot and let their amazing AI-powered tools do all the heavy lifting, you can do that too. It's up to you. And I have to mention their amazing support team, which has answered me quickly every time I messed up or couldn't find a button that turned out to be right in front of me. So if you're looking to get started or start over with the perfect platform to record and connect with others, check out Riverside. Let's talk about a video that is by far, like a huge margin, your most popular video. And for a lot of people,
Yep.
including myself, it is the first point of contact with WanderBeard. And it's a video, more than 1 million views. I mean, it's doing really well because
Yep.
the title is perfect, and the video is a perfect introduction to you and your world. The title, let me get this right here. The title is this: I'm 51 years old today, no spouse,
Mhm.
no kids, no home. And the thumbnail is just
Yep.
you sitting at a table in a hotel room, and that's it. And when you see the thumbnail and you see that title, the assumption is the video is going to go in a certain direction. But when you watch it, it goes actually in a completely opposite direction. It's a very positive, uplifting message that, as I said, is the first point of contact for a lot of people. Tell us about that video.
So that video has been really, really amazing, first of all, and really interesting to me to see the kind of responses that it gets. So I actually got this idea from another travel friend of mine, who has a travel channel as well, and he actually did one of these himself a few months prior. And it's just very similar to the thing. I think he was turning 40 at the time. And so I was like, oh, that's a really fun idea. I think I'll do the same thing. And so the intent of it is that it brings you in to initially think, oh, this guy is miserable. He's having a terrible life. He's got nothing to look forward to, those types of things. But in the end of it all, you listen to the rest of it and you realize that doing something different is just okay too, you know? And it's just kind of, it's funny because it's one of the least, um, effort requiring videos that I've made. It was basically one take, or a couple of takes. And I did it the morning that I uploaded it, and it's continued to perform really well. I mean, here we are now, 7, 8 months later, and it's still, people are still seeing it every day. People are still commenting on it every day. And the wide variety of responses that I get from it is really, really interesting. It's easy to tell who's watched the first 30 seconds and then not the rest of it. And then I think that for me, it's a really good message. Like, I just want people to feel that it's okay to do something different. People get stuck in this way of, oh, I need to have a job and a house and a family and the picket fence and the 2.3 kids or whatever it is. But for me, it's realizing that it's okay to do other things. If you want to try a different way of running your life, that's okay. People are going to fail at that all the time, and that's okay too. It's all about learning experiences, finding your path to happiness, if you will. And I think it's resonated with people really well, with quite a lot. I think it's resonated with them quite a lot, and it's been great to see, And when you get 90, you get 12,000 or 13,000 comments or whatever it's been on the video, and 99% of them are positive, then it's clearly done its job.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Really, yeah, great video. Like I said, like you said, you see it first glance, and you're like, oh, this is going to be a sad story, and you watch it, and it's anything but. Yeah, fantastic. Let me turn to
Yep.
the practical side of things of YouTube, um, especially as someone who makes videos while traveling. It sounds like a tall order to find the time to do the editing necessary that you have to do on for your videos, in between the practical issues and challenges of traveling. How do you make time while traveling and with uncertain access to the internet and power issues and whatnot? How do you make it all work?
Well, I think the first step is to make sure you're enjoying it. I know lots of people who, I shouldn't say lots. I know some people who I've talked to who are doing this, and they've got an entire team behind them. They've got, 8 or 10 different people working for them doing editing, and one person doing social media and doing all this kind of stuff. And they're still not happy. They're still not enjoying it because it's turned into the job that they left to go do this instead. Like,
Hmm.
now they're managing a team
Yeah,
and
that's true.
they've got
That's
all
true.
these other
And sorry,
responsibilities, and all of a
sorry
sudden,
to interrupt. I should have pointed out that you are a one-man operation. You're doing all of this. You're in front of the camera, behind the camera, and you're
yeah,
doing all this work. And so it's a tall order.
it's 100% me. And I've had offers from people to come on board and help me with certain aspects, either, you know, search engine optimization or video editing or thumbnails or whatever. I've been doing it all myself since day one, and I like doing it that way. It's, for me, it's part of the process. And I enjoy the process that I'm doing. Like, yeah, like you said, I record all the videos, I edit all the videos, I schedule everything myself, I do all the social media. I have my own website, WanderBeard.com, which has some other resources and information on it. I handle all of that as well. And then on top of that, I'm doing, like you said, all of the menial stuff, I guess, if you will. You know, where am I going to go next? Where am I going to stay next? How am I going to get there? Okay, now that I'm there, where am I going to eat? All these types of things. It's all me, and I enjoy that process. It's part of the adventure to me. Is I'm going to a new place. Let's see what exciting things I can find. You know, and sometimes I've gone back to places like, right now I'm working my way south again, going kind of hop, skip, and jump through some of the countries I've been to before. And it's good because there's things I didn't get to do the first time around that now I'm getting to do this time, which has been a lot of fun. I'm like, I'm already familiar with the city. Let's go see the things I didn't get to see last time.
Tell me something about your tech stack, the hardware and software that makes everything happen.
It's pretty basic, actually. I try and keep it as simple as possible because I'm always traveling. I don't want to bring a whole lot of stuff with me. People ask me all the time, "Oh, do you have a drone?" I do, but it's back in Canada. I don't carry it with me because it's just too cumbersome to carry. So all I carry with me to do my recording is I have a DJI Action 4 camera that I use to do all the recording. I have a little DJI mic that I use normally for doing all the audio, and that's pretty well it. I have a laptop that I do the editing on, and everything else. It's funny because the laptop has come up 2 times in the birthday video. People have asked, "Oh, it must be a nice fancy gaming laptop." I'm like, no, it's like 3 or 4 years old. Just kind of does its thing for me. It's working. I don't need anything fancier than that. But that's pretty well it. Just the camera, the microphone, and the laptop. I keep it, super simple, super streamlined, and it's been more than enough for what I need to do for sure.
What software do you use for editing?
I'm gonna get some comments on this one, but I actually use CapCut Desktop for that. And that's only because I started with it way back on day one, and I've actually maintained an older version of it. So I've just continued to work with that the whole way through. I've tried to get into things like DaVinci Resolve and some other fancier programs, but that just adds more things that I need to learn. And I'm comfortable with CapCut. It's done everything I needed to for my videos, so I've just kind of stuck with it.
You mentioned the DJI action camera a moment ago. I can't remember exactly where, but didn't you once mention problems with that overheating in the tropical heat? Any technical issues?
That was actually I had a GoPro before this.
A GoPro.
So everything prior to, I would say, somewhere in Mexico anyway. I was using a GoPro up to that point, and the GoPro was overheating constantly. The batteries in it would last like 20, 30 minutes, and you have to, like, so you're always carrying around this big pocket of batteries because you never know when the other batteries are just going to up and die. And so I was getting really annoyed by that. And so I looked at this DJI camera, and the reviews on it were all sort of saying it fixes all the things I was worried about. It doesn't overheat, batteries last way longer, it's better in low light situations, it's got a bigger sensor on it, so it brings in more light at nighttime. And so when I switched to this, it was like night and day in a difference. For me personally, I found it to be a much more reliable camera. I only carry 2 batteries with me now for this camera, and it's enough. I was out yesterday for 4.5 hours shooting video, and I used 2 batteries the whole time. So that's great.
Hey,
GoPro would
DJI
have needed
marketing
like
people, talk to
bag.
this guy. Come on. It's the advertisement right here.
I
Somebody
mean,
reach out. Somebody reach out.
you know, it's been great. It's been awesome. And again, this is not sponsored, as you were joking, like in any way. It's just not sponsored,
Not
but their
yet.
cameras
You
to
never
me
know what can
have been
happen,
so
Ian.
much
You never
better.
know what can
Um,
happen.
Sorry, actually, one
Uh,
other note I was going to add is that these actually pair with Bluetooth to the camera, rather than with the GoPro, you need to have a separate harness and a wire and all the other stuff. So it's great for that too.
yeah, we need to talk to the DJI people for sure. For sure. Maybe get an upgrade in your travels after you talk to them. Who knows? Who knows? Um, I'm curious to know what, if any, what IT skills, like from your old life, might carry over into the world of YouTube and kind of, help you manage things better. Anything?
Yeah, there's actually it's funny you asked that, because, and I'll get to this second point in a second, but the first point for me is yes, in that it helps me better prepare myself in situations, just in general life situations. Like, I don't think people are analytical enough when they're looking at how do I solve a problem. Or, in my case, every day I'm solving problems. How do I get from A to B? Where am I going to stay? How do I get, what's the border process to go from one country to the next? All these types of things. And so I use that analytical background that I have to kind of look at, okay, well, let's break this down into smaller problems, and let's just pick them off one at a time and kind of work around that to make sure that we get them figured out. From a security perspective, I'm very careful with things like, ensuring that my accounts can't get hacked or accessed or those types of things. Using all the security tools that are available to people. Because so many people are using, oh, I'll use the word password as my password, and that'll be totally okay, and I'll use it across all my accounts, and I'll never have a problem until you do. So I try and implement a lot of that type of stuff. Just again, just general security knowledge into my day-to-day life for things like that. And the second point I was going to mention is that I actually have my first technical travel tips video coming out today, ironically. And this
Great
wasn't scripted.
timing.
You didn't even know this, I don't think,
Great
in
timing.
advance.
I did not know that. Look at
Um,
that. Nice.
I I use this. I have this kind of. It's nothing special, but I have this sort of way that I manage my money so that when I go to use an ATM in a country or something like that, I am never at risk of someone getting into my main account and stealing all my money, kind of thing. And I've seen a few YouTuber travel people talk about this recently. Oh, they've gotten scammed from card skimmers or those types of things. And I was like, this should be basic knowledge. Why don't more people realize this stuff? So I've sort of taken this opportunity to kind of build I've got 2 videos finished right now in the technical tips. The first one's today, the second one's actually next week. And then we'll see how they go. And if they do well, then I'll continue to make some more of them. So I have a long list of ideas I can do for them.
One more thing on the tech stack. I'm curious about this because I noticed that you use Google Maps, or maybe it's Google Earth. I'm not sure. You use it quite a lot to show the path that you're taking. I've never seen that before, and it works really well. I think it's a great idea. Is that easy to use and implement into your videos?
Yeah, so there's a couple different tools I'm actually using. Google Maps kind of just for the static stuff. I'm getting more and more annoyed with Google Maps all the time, to be honest, because every time I want to show something clearly, they always feel the need to put these promoted spots on the map, or they add too much extra information to the screen that I don't need to show people. I just want to have here's how I got from A to B kind of thing. And so I've started switching to things like OpenStreetMaps, and I also use a site called mult.dev, which helps me do the animated maps so that I can actually, do multi-stop maps that show you kind of the path I took through a country and all the stops in between. So those are really the 2 tools that I've been using. Yeah, like I said, Google Maps, but I am moving more away from it because at least with OpenStreetMaps, I can very clearly contain what I want to show on the screen if it's just the route or just whatever. And it's been much better. So I keep falling back to Google Maps, but I'm slowly transitioning away from it.
So it is Google Maps and not Google Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I've used Google Earth before. I've used a bunch of different things, but it basically depends on what the purpose is going to be. If it's a static map or if it's an animated map, I kind of separate them there a little bit too.
I noticed that recently you've published a number of compilations on your travels in different countries in 2025. And the timing is right. I mean, we just finished 2025, so it's a nice way to look back. But it's also a smart way to repurpose your content. Many people watching those compilations were not your subscribers when the content was originally published. And so, what's the thinking behind reusing content as you build a bigger library of content? Will we see more of that in the future?
Yeah, and I think that and for me, I think there's a delicate balance between you reusing too much old stuff because then your current subscribers who have been following you all along are like, well, I've seen all this before. I'm not going to continue to watch this channel. And then also, as you said, trying to bring in new eyeballs to what you've done. And for me, it's been such a big year of growth in terms of a year ago, 12 months ago, almost to the day, I had just hit 5,000 subscribers, and now I'm sitting around 34,000 or so. So that's a sevenfold increase in subscribers, and a lot of that missed the stuff from Mexico and the stuff from Belize and my first time through Guatemala. So I thought it's both a way for me to look back at those things and go, oh man, I love those places, I'd love to see them again, and oh, I forgot about that place, or I forgot about that restaurant or whatever. And yeah, at the same time bring in those new eyeballs to hopefully kind of help continue to grow. On top of that, I've also separated out. I have a whole section on just hotel reviews that I've split out from my original long form videos. That goes in partnership with my own website where I actually do written reviews of the hotels with links to how to book for them, where they're located, the cost per night, all that kind of information is updated on my website. And then they also have this 2-minute review of the hotel or where I stayed. Pretty well everywhere I go, I've done one of those reviews. And so it's been good. It's just kind of a nice way to kind of connect it all together and produce stuff that people who are looking for things quickly can find it.
Yeah, congratulations on that growth in 2025. I mean, amazing, well deserved. I mean, from 5K to over basically 35K in one year. Does that kind of does that translate into any kind of extra pressure that you feel now, knowing that you're talking to so many more people, new subscribers who are kind of in that in that period where they might be deciding, am I going to stick with this or not?
Not really. Yeah, I haven't changed my approach to things at all. I'm still the same kind of regular person, boring person that I am. It's really nice to see the growth. It's really great to see the new eyeballs on the things, but it's certainly not going to change things for me in terms of how I do it. It does give me an opportunity to say to others that who are just starting out, or who are where I was a year ago, kind of thing, to say keep at it. You know, be consistent is one of the sort of cardinal rules of YouTube. Is don't post 3 videos in a week and then go for nothing for a month. Try and keep it consistent all the way through, and that kind of how is a way to ensure that you continue to do your growth and attract new people to your channels and stuff. And there's certainly times where I'm like, ugh, I don't know if this is going to keep working or not. Or there's been times where there's some really slow months of the year. The way YouTube's algorithm and advertising stuff works, it's kind of all over the place. Sometimes sometimes you have really big months and then suddenly it drops off to nothing. But the key is just to keep going and keep doing your thing and keep it consistent, because I think you'll kind of push through all of that, and you'll just see the continued substantial growth over time if you stick with it.
Speaking of the challenges of growth, I've noticed that you're very engaged with your comment section. And I'm wondering if, going from 5,000 to 35,000, that, 7 times more comments and replies and likes and whatnot. I mean, how long can you sustain that really without it becoming a major, major time and
Uh,
commitment issue?
yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it as long as I can. I mean, I always find time to. If I'm riding on a bus somewhere, like I'll sit down and I'll go through comments for an hour or something and just respond to stuff, or even just give a thumbs up or a little heart or whatever it is to comments, just to kind of get through that. There's a lot of comments on that birthday video, for example, that I've read them all, but I just haven't responded to them all. But as I've said in some of my videos, like I read every single comment that I receive, 100%, and then I respond to the ones that I can. Some of them I spend more time with than others. Some people have reached out and said very personal stories, in the comments, which to me is very important, because it shows that they are trusting me to be able to talk to me in a way that they don't feel comfortable maybe talking to other people about. And which is a little weird, I guess, in some ways, because I'm just a regular guy on the internet, but it's nice to hear that people feel that way, that they can take that approach with me and feel comfortable enough to ask those types of questions or say those types of things. And so I try and take a little bit extra time to sit down and write back a proper, probably long-winded response in some cases to those people as well.
You published a video not long ago, I forgot exactly when, not too long ago, about how you went back home to Canada for a bit because you were feeling the effects of burnout. You'd been on the road for like a year and a half, something like that, just needed to kind of recharge and reset.
Yep.
What about burnout in the context of YouTube? Have you ever kind of maybe hit a wall where you started to question, how much time and effort you put into this? It could be too much or too little time, but has that ever been an issue for you?
Not yet. I've certainly had moments where I'm like, I've had to take a step back and I realized like I worked too much this week, kind of thing, where I was just heads down in the content, not enjoying the place that I was in. But that's only really come up a couple times, and I've been able to catch myself when it happens. So I'm able to take that step and say, okay, a couple times I've said, sorry guys, no video today or no video this week. I just am, enjoying where I am, or I just need a break where I am, or whatever. I think it's important that people do that. As much as I talk about consistency and staying regular with things, it's also okay to, take a day off or maybe a week if you need it. Like when I went home to visit my family, it was I was very much at that point where I was like, I just need a short break, just take a little bit of time to relax, unwind, see my parents, see my family, my brother and his family and everybody else. And it was great. It brought me back fully recharged when I came back. And even when I was home, I didn't stop, because I still filmed a couple of videos when I was at home and put them up on the channel there too. So, that bug is always in me, and I just enjoy doing the work and enjoy the experience of the whole process right now. So I really haven't felt that need to kind of take a big step back at some point and say enough is enough.
Well, speaking of that enjoyment that you mentioned, that enjoyment, tell us something about, like, what do you get from YouTube? I mean, apart from any financial considerations, like the personal satisfaction you get, what keeps you coming back?
I think for me, it's just a sense of accomplishment. Like I really risked a lot to do this in some ways. People would look at this and say, "You're crazy. I can't believe that you sold your car and sold all your possessions and gave up a career and walked away from all of that stuff just to go and make videos on YouTube." But for me, it's part of that. It's almost like a healing process, I guess, in some ways. This is me betting on myself and finding something else to do that I enjoy, that fulfills my life. I get to see the world, I get to show it to people, and yeah, just enjoy doing the whole process from start to finish. It's been a really great way for me to kind of showcase a lot of that stuff. And I am naturally not a very outgoing, you know, I'm not the big guy at the parties usually. I'm usually the guy that's kind of sitting over in the sofa in the corner. When is this over yet? Can I go home now? That kind of thing. So in some ways it's a very different approach for me as well. But I think that's part of the fun and part of the challenge.
Ian, that guy that's sitting over there in the corner has a video that more than 1 million people have watched. And so, you know, I, I,
Yeah.
I I think he's pretty
Yeah,
socially
it's
engaged at
I
this
keep
point.
reminding
Yeah.
myself of that, and yeah, it's amazing, that has done that well. I never expected it to do anything like that at all. I fully expected it just to kind of go out and a few hundred or maybe 1,000 or a couple thousand people would see it, and that would be it. And it's actually more people have come to me and said, "Can you do more videos like that?" And so I've tried to add a couple more videos, fairly recently about similar topics. But I have some other ideas in mind. But again, it's trying to always pull back into. I'm still trying to do travel videos primarily, and that's always been my focus. So I'm certainly not one that I don't feel like I should be giving advice to other people in some cases, but people are asking for it, and so I certainly have seen lots of things and done lots of things over the years. So I am happy to share that with people going forward at some point.
Well, let's talk about advice since you mentioned it. I mean, as we're talking today, I think you're just over 300 videos, roughly 50-50 split between full length videos and shorts. So I think you're very much in a position to give advice on the topic of YouTube. You have definitely been there and done that. So what advice would you give to anyone thinking about getting started or trying to grow a channel? And let me add just one more question into that. What might you do differently yourself if you could start over?
I guess the advice I would give to people is start small. Like my first few videos were regional where I was. I did a 3-part series on the town I grew up in with my parents, you know, and that was a great way for me to kind of do a test run to kind of get comfortable with talking to a camera and, talking to people and behind the camera and just presenting information in a way that makes it interesting. So like, don't feel like you have to pack everything up, throw it out, or get rid of it all and go to some far flung destination across the world and start there. Because I think a lot of times people will fail at that. They will get into a situation where they're like, this is too much at once. I don't know what I'm doing. And then just, they kind of feel like everything's chaotic. So if you're starting out, start local. You're the only one that knows the stories about the place you grew up in. So why not tell those stories? When I did that series, I actually had my dad with me. My dad is a wealth of information. He knows more about that town than I think anybody else that lives there. So it was great bringing him along to talk about. It's like, we'd be looking at pictures in the museum and he'd be like, "Oh, I know about this guy's story and this guy's story and this," and that's great stuff. Like that's the kind of stuff that not enough people are doing anymore, I don't think. And so it's a great way to kind of, yeah, just kind of get comfortable in your own skin in front of a camera and do those types of things. And then from there, do smaller trips. My second video was for the solar eclipse in 2024, and that was about 4 or 5 hours away in a drive. So then, and then I went to Newfoundland, which is the next province over. So every trip got a little bit longer. I got a little bit more refined at what I was doing, a bit more comfortable with the whole process, so that when it came time to finally say, okay, I'm off, I already had sort of some of the basic stuff worked out. If I was going back
So,
to my own personal self, and any advice I would give to myself is, um, just be yourself. Just be normal. Don't feel like you have to go out and, try and find something controversial. Because I think there's a time coming with YouTube where a lot of these flashy, controversial type people are going to start to die off in terms of interest. It's just too much, right? With people are looking to come to watch videos and enjoy content like this as a way to get away from that type of stuff. So focus on doing things that you enjoy, and just do your thing, and don't be afraid to go out and try it. And if it doesn't work, then try something else. But at least you've tried that.
how about anything differently if you could start over?
Not really. I think I've been pretty happy with the sort of how things have worked out. Like I kind of had a plan from the beginning. I basically went into this knowing nothing. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I'm gonna figure it out as I go. And I took the time slowly to kind of build that experience and build that knowledge, so that when the time came, you know, I was ready to go. So really, that's really the reflection on all this, is that if you want to do this, be consistent. Don't be afraid to try it, and just start small and then build out from there.
So going forward, any particular goals for the channel in terms of subscribers or sponsorship or new directions for the content? What's next for WanderBeard?
It's Yeah, I've actually kind of pulled back from. I've had some sponsorship requests from different groups and different companies and stuff in the past. I've actually kind of pulled back from those a little bit, to be totally honest, because it's just one of those levels of comfort that I'm not ready for yet. I prefer to do my own thing in my own way, and I don't feel like I want to have to shoehorn in, oh, hey, while we're here, kind of go sponsor these guys or whatever. I prefer just to kind of keep it my own style. Um, so for that sort of aspect for now, I've kind of put that aside. But in terms of the channel itself, I want to keep going. I really enjoy what I'm doing. I really enjoy seeing these places. I am looking forward to getting to some new places in the future. Also, I'm also looking forward to getting to some new places down the road. There's lots of places I want to go see. I've visited Thailand about 20 years ago when I was teaching English in Japan. I've been itching to get back to Southeast Asia. And everyone says, oh, Southeast Asia, there's so many videos and bloggers there already that it's such a swamped place to go. Like, no one's gonna. I don't really care. I'm gonna go for myself. I'm gonna make the videos for myself and for my family. And if people watch them, then that's fantastic. And that's kind of always been my attitude about all of this. I'm not going places just to try and you know surprise people or shock people or something like that. For me, it's just about going places that I want to see and showing them off to people. So that's really where I'm at. I would love to get to, everyone says, oh, I'd love to get to 100,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers or whatever. That's great. And I think if I keep doing what I'm doing, I will get there eventually. Right now, I'm happy with what I'm doing and where I am, and just continuing to move forward from here and keep doing my thing. So
So it's possible that WanderBeard 2.0 could be Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Africa, some other place, because let's be honest, as wonderful as Latin America can be, there's a limited number of places. It's a big world.
yep, absolutely. I've really come to love this part of the world. Like I had never I'd been to Costa Rica once, about 12, 13 years ago for work for a couple of weeks, but I had never been to Mexico before I went the last year, or any of the other sort of Central American countries. And it's been a wonderful experience. It's really a place that I've kind of fallen in love with. Every country here, like, they're all fairly small, but they're all unique and special in their own ways. The culture, the history, and all these types of things are so interesting everywhere I go. From here, my next plan is to get down to Costa Rica to finish that part of the trip off, because I sort of stopped Costa Rica halfway through before when I went home. So now I'm working my way back down to finish that off, get down to Panama. I would love to get down and do a tour of South America next. And then, yeah, eventually get to India Southeast Asia, Africa. As long as the support is there, I will continue to travel and continue to do these things because I love doing it. And there's a long list of places that I want to see. And as I said, we can't buy more time, so I've got to get moving, so to speak.
So if you want to feel like you're exploring some of the places that we talked about without leaving home, you have to check out WanderBeard. If you want to see someone doing what you may have daydreamed about yourself, you have to check out WanderBeard. If you want a travel channel that just makes you feel good, you have to check out WanderBeard. We can all learn a lot from what Ian is doing. And Ian, I look forward to going on your next journey with you. Thanks so much for joining us here on Love Your Channel.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I haven't done many of these kind of interview things before, so this is kind of a new experience for me. So this is another tick in the box, I guess, for my channel, and it's been a great time. So thank you very much.
So that's it for this time. Thanks to Ian again for joining me. And don't forget to check out our podcast and Substack. All the links in the description below, of course. And definitely check out WanderBeard. Like and subscribe there. Like and subscribe here. All the usual things. And we'll see you next time on Love Your Channel.